Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Well, why don't you come on in here and let's get some Bible study on today. How about that? Today we're going to look at verses 3 and 4 in Psalm 7. So if you have your Bible, why don't you turn over there with me to Psalm 7, and I'm going to read for us here in just a minute verses 3 and 4. Now, this psalm is historical in nature because it's remembering the announcement of Cush the Benjamite when he came into David and he told him that Absalom was dead. So now we have the background. David, at some point, writes this psalm about that incident. It just plagued his soul. You know, he was grieved over the death of Absalom. We saw that yesterday. We looked at those passages. He went up to the room above the gate in the wall there, and he cried and he wept. So he's brokenhearted over the death of his son. Now, today we have three ifs that we want to address. So if you have your Bible, let's turn over to verses 3 and 4 in Psalm 7. O Lord, my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is my enemy. Then we go on to the then, if this is so. So verses 3 and 4, we have the three ifs. If I've done this, if there's iniquity in my hands, if I've rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me. So David is afraid that what's happened to his son is his fault. And how horrible would that be? And he says, there in verse 2, he said the enemy was tearing his soul like a lion. So he was already feeling the effects of all of this as the report comes of Absalom's death. And now he says, wait a minute, perhaps all of this suffering, all of this grief, this tumult of soul is due to my own actions. If I have done this, he said. Done what? Caused the death of his son Absalom. If I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands. So he is wondering, is he the instigator behind all this? And honestly, the answer is yes. He is the instigator. Because if it wasn't for his sin against Uriah, murdering Uriah and taking his wife and sleeping with his wife while Uriah was still alive, if all of that hadn't happened, God wouldn't be judging his family. But he is. And so when David says here, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, he must have been feeling guilty, perhaps guilty over all of that mess. Now we've got Psalm 51. We know his contrition. But still, even though the Lord forgives you, there's still lingering guilt because you did something that was so heinous. And David did. He had Uriah killed over a woman. That's the lowest form of, behavior. And he says, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I've rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me. Well, he did, because Absalom was at peace with him at some point. And the evil that he rewarded him was the taking of another man's wife and killing the man. So I think we get a peek into David's soul here a little bit with these questions. The enemy is tearing my soul. If I've done this, if there's iniquity in my hands, if I've treated him poorly who is at peace with me, well, David, yeah, you've been there. You've done that. And now tomorrow we're going to look at verses 5 and 6. And in 5 and 6, we have the then, if, then. So we have the three ifs, and then David says, if that's the case, then, and, verse 5 jumps right back into the enemy. Let the enemy do his thing, if that's the case. And so we'll pick that up tomorrow as we look at verses 5 and 6. So don't be late tomorrow. Come right in, and we're going to look at verses 5 and 6 in Psalm 7. I hope to see you then, here on Daily Dose Radio.